Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my kitchen. This is Kimberly Knox. You're in KK's Big Kitchen. We're going to continue with our cruciferous vegetable series today. We're going to cut to the chase and make an amazing cauliflower risotto, right? Don't we all love risotto because it's so delicious, right? It's converting to that comfort, those comfort calories that we love, but you're going to save about 1/3 of the amount of carbohydrates by utilizing cauliflower in your recipes. So we're also going to talk about the amazing dense nutrients that this has. And if you're worried about brain function as you age, I'm going to fill you in on why that's so important. So I'm the creator of the bioenergetic cooking method. It's really just a passion to help people get a real reverence for food and how that food energetically affects their body. Simple Cooking for Vitality is my book I'm super proud of. In the very first section of the book, we're talking about neurotransmitters and also the colon. Now, cauliflower, fantastic for this section. And one of the reasons is because of the fiber content. This is an herb roasted cauliflower. But the other reason is because of the glucosinolates, which are the antioxidants that will convert into that inyl C carbonyl, which is the I3C. Okay, so that's what they talk about when they're talking about anti-cancer. There's these glucosinolates will convert into really, really happy antioxidants that are really good for brain function and anti-cancer fighting. So many, many reasons. We're going to make this delicious. We're going to do asparagus, garlic, shiitake mushrooms, red onions, regular onions, lemon zest, a little bit of wine, and we're using a creamy, high-energy coconut milk in there as well. And here's my fresh parsley, which I love. So let me get on my apron, and we'll get going. We'll talk a little bit more about the cauliflower. Okay, so I'm sporting a little bit of fall inspiration here. You know, I love my sunflowers. Cauliflower, an organic cauliflower. You start with about a medium head here. What I like to do is just cut around the core on the bottom. You're going to see another reason why you should all have a food processor for sure. It really makes your life much easier. So you see how when you just cut around it, you can get out this whole thick piece here, and then you're left with the parts that you're looking for. So just peel off all the outside parts here, throw this away. After you've cut a cauliflower about 100 times, you kind of learn quick, easier ways to do it that you enjoy. Now, if you were going to be roasting big pieces of cauliflower, of course, you want them big here. We're going to just make them a little bit smaller before we throw them in. And if you want to go ahead and save a few, which I actually am, because I'm cooking for one, I'm just going to save a few pieces. You can actually throw these into a smoothie. I have an amazing recipe if you want to reach out to me for a creamy strawberry smoothie that has raw cauliflower. You don't taste it. So fantastic. And that's what you want to get as much as possible, is not to overcook the cauliflower. In fact, steaming it is much better for the nutrient preservation than of course, if you're going to boil it in water. And this recipe, you'll see we're only warming it, because cauliflower rice, just like when I did the broccoli rice, you only need to cook it for a very short period of time, so you're not disturbing the nutrients all that much. So I'm saving out a few pieces for later for me, whether I want to do something with them. So let's get them in here in the food processor. Your food processor is going to do the work. Just try to get even pieces in there so they kind of blend up together. We're just going to pulse it to make the rice, but it's so much easier to do this at home, and then you know the quality of the cauliflower that you are getting, because it's just been done. Yeah, I'm going to save out all those pieces. I actually love that smoothie I'm talking about. And of course, you know, I love my board scraper, but this thing is invaluable. Williams Sonoma, $10. Okay, so put it on. We're just going to pulse And then you might want to just check it and push around. And in fact, what you can do is take out some of these big pieces, and you just don't want to overload it. Mine is only a 7-cup food processor. An 11-cup is great. You can probably need a 14. So if you have big pieces that are kind of stuck like those are, all I do is just take them out and then I'll put them back in by themselves. So that's no problem. We just don't want to over process it. And make sure you have these nice stainless steel bowls. They're very inexpensive. They're so versatile. They stack really well. They wash well. They're not heavy. They won't break. Tons of reasons. So in the very end of my book, under snacks and desserts, there's a cauliflower rice pizza crust. Very easy to make because we're not heating up the cauliflower prior to making it into a crust. So you could actually make this recipe 2 ways if you do enough cauliflower rice. So let's just put the other little pieces back in there. We just took those out. And then we will finish up. So there you go. In no time, you have some beautiful cauliflower rice that we're going to cook up. Okay, I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to get the what do you call it? The little cooker top over here so we can utilize that. And we'll be right back to get everything else. Okay, so while your saute pan is heating up, definitely about a medium high, then you can turn it down a bit. You want to cut up your garlic nice and fine. If you like it, you know what, I'm not too picky about mine being that fine, but we want a lot of flavor throughout, so we're going to want to chop it up a bit, a little bit more than I would do my sauteed bok choy or broccoli. So just use your chef's knife and just keep going through it until it's the consistency that you are happy with. We're going to do the onion and the garlic first. You don't have to put onion in. I'm using half of a white onion just because I like a little bit of onion in mine. You could also use a shallot. Actually, I would use some shallots in this case instead of a white onion, but I do not have any right now. So I'm just going to use a white onion. So we're just using half. We'll save the other half for something else. And we're going to be using coconut oil. You could also use avocado oil. This will be nicely sweet. So just cut little lines, flat side down of the onion. This helps you to get a good start on chopping it up and controlling it without it flying all over the place. Every time I start cutting onions, I think about Julia Child in the movie where she's chopping at the French cooking school. Hysterical, and everything's flying all over the place. I don't like stuff all over my floor. All right, so we want to just cut these up nice and fine, different than in a salad. Again, we want the flavor to be throughout. So we want some finer pieces here. This is almost done. Great, fantastic. We're going to put these in first, and then we're going to follow by the garlic just to get these translucent, and then to get them both fragrant, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to use this to get in. It's going to end up being about 1 to 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Okay, so I've showed you before, I prefer this brand for cooking, Nutiva brand, especially baking. So let's get this in. You can see you get a nice little sizzle when the pan is sufficiently warmed up. And we can always turn that down a little bit. And you want to use, this is a good time to use one of your rubber spatulas. These are the copper core all clad pans. So this is a professional pan, but you'll feel amazing cooking with it. It also cooks so effectively. I'm going to get the garlic in there now too. We want both those to get nice and fragrant. Trust me, any house that's got garlic and onions cooking smells incredible. So we're gonna let those heat up first. Now, what I've already done, and while that's going, what you can do is you take your asparagus. Most people only like the tips of the asparagus, or a lot of people where they feel like they're the most tender. But when you get the smaller asparagus, just cut them in smaller pieces. I actually put some aside because I'll use these later for something else, and I'm sauteing. And I save some of the shiitake mushrooms. You're going to use about a half of a container here. So I'm just going to make the shiitake mushrooms slightly smaller. I don't want them too much smaller. I want a little bit of definition in the dish and texture. So I'm just cutting them up a tiny bit here. Okay. So just run the knife through them. Sometimes the shiitake, they're extra big. Okay. All right, we're gonna tidy up. I'll be right back, and then we'll put everything else in, and this will be done. Okay, looking fantastic. I'm gonna use a little bit of the wine. It's about a couple tablespoons of white wine. It's gonna help us to deglaze this whole pan too, and get a little flavor in there that people are used to when they're getting their risotto. Now we're gonna cook up the asparagus. I wanna get this a little bit more cooked before I put in the cauliflower. We'll let this cook for a little bit, then I'll put in the shiitakes. And just check it if you need to add a little bit more of the coconut oil. I just keep this little, the little brush is great because it just helps you to get into the spots that you need to without adding too much. All right. This is the coconut milk that I use. No guar gum is added. That's important. Guar is a thickener, and it sometimes can have issues with your digestive tract. Put a little bit of sea salt on this now. I'll be putting the black pepper on later. So lemon, we're gonna need a whole squeezed lemon in here, and we're gonna do a lemon zest. You've seen the squeezer. This one actually works better than, I'll show you the other one that most people have that I also use sometimes. I use this for limes because limes are really tough to use with your hand. But this one works really, really well for the lemon because it really gets all of the juice out much easier. Get a little elbow grease in there. So now we have one squeezed lemon, and then you just save it in here, which is fantastic. And a little bit of lemon zest. So this is non-dairy, gluten-free, low carb. So it's really, it's keto friendly, even though I don't go by the diets. So some of the dietary outlines are wise in that you're cutting down on your refined carbs, concentrating on good carbs. Fats, fiber, and protein are where you're going to get your blood sugar stable. So that's important. This smells really, really great. So I love having a zester around. It smells amazing. So you can save that to use for later. And next up, we'll get these mushrooms in there. I think that's enough, actually. I think I had a little too much. I'll save those. I'm just going to soften those a little bit, and you can actually use a cover that'll create like steaming. So let's just cover those for a second or a few minutes just to get them soft, and we'll add in the cauliflower. I just want to preserve the nutrient composition of the cauliflower. So we'll get a little bit of parsley, which we're going to put on there later, cut up. these little scissors. I never knew they were going to be so useful. They're great. And I just love storing my parsley like this in the refrigerator. It looks so healthy, and they just stay really great without getting all spoiled in a bag, stuffed in your drawer, the salad drawer. So let's use my chef's knife on this. So the blade is thicker at the end part here, a little bit stronger than your the fine blade there. Great, fabulous. We are all prepared. So I'll be right back, and we'll get the cauliflower in there, and we'll be all just about. Okay, perfect. These smell amazing. They're getting naturally soft without being overcooked, and the pan is not burning. So that's what also happens when you put the cover on. You can add in the steam. So let's get the cauliflower in there. And we're going to add the coconut milk and the lemon juice. The lemon zest. About a half a cup of the coconut milk. Let's just give this a nice toss. So you've got that tanginess of the lemon. You got a little bit of the white wine, but it's going to be nice and creamy with the coconut milk, which makes you feel very satisfied. But it is an energy fat, because this fat actually can help convert to energy because of the MCT oil conversion there, the medium chain fats. That's what MCT stands for. So I am going to put the cover on again just to give it a nice steam. It helps soften them without overcooking. And literally, we're just going to season those, and this dish is done. So the cover's off. We're just letting some of the water cook down and get this nice and creamy. If you want to add a little bit more garlic powder to have a little more punch, you're welcome to. I've made sure I have plenty of beautiful sea salt in there. You want to get in some cracked black pepper. I like using the multicolor peppercorns. So that's great. I do not add Parmesan cheese. I'm keeping it dairy-free. A really good aged goat cheese might be a little bit less harmful to people that have a problem with that casein protein, but you can add a little bit of nutritional yeast on top. This is going to be so fragrant, and it's going to feel so good. We're going to be adding in some fresh parsley. I'm adding it in at the end here. Save a little bit for topping. I'm going to top mine with some fresh red onion. That gives you more antioxidant power, a little bit of fresh crunch, right? So let's just see what this looks like here. And we are done. Beautiful. I am looking forward to this. You can add an entire avocado to the top of this, and you've got a beautiful, full, nutrient-dense, plant-based meal here. Adding in some of this nutritional yeast on top. It has a cheesy, buttery. So there you go. I'm going to jump in. Thanks for tuning in today, KK's Big Kitchen. Please consider using cauliflower in yummy ways, because it really is delicious. Have an amazing day.